The record label has just started operations, the launch of which I've been looking forward to very, very much indeed. And one of the gentlemen involved in the running of the label is with us tonight, so may I welcome Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
How long has it taken you in preparation to get the label ready, Elton?
Well, we first thought of it last June when we were making Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player in France. And Davy Johnson, my guitarist, wanted to sort of make a solo album, and we sort of tried to get him a good deal everywhere with other record companies, and they really didn't offer even an adequate deal for a new artist. So we got very drunk because the chateau makes its own wine, and we decided, well, why don't we start our own label? And everybody sort of sat around going, yeah. And then the next morning, everyone turned to each other and said, well, are we serious? And there was Gus Dudgeon, Bernie Taupin, John Reed, Steve Brown, and myself, and we said, yeah, why not? And it's really taken us from then to get even the it's a big word, administrative side sorted out. And like you have to do distribution deals with America and England and Europe, and you have to see everybody to decide who's going to give you the best deal. And we haven't even touched on Japan or Australia yet. It's very, it takes a long time to set even half the world up.
What kind of problems have you had? Have you had many problems actually setting it up yourself?
Well, finding offices, for example, was a huge problem. I mean, you just can't it doesn't really happen overnight. We had about 12 sites that were great and 12 sites that fell through because they didn't really want to lease it to a rock and roll record company. So we've had that took us 3 or 4 months even to get a little bit of a premises sorted out. And now we've done that. It really, the administrative side of things in this business is really a drag. I mean, it really is. I mean, it just is just totally incomprehensible. It takes sort of like 9 months to set something up, but it does.
What kind of people will you be recording? I know Long Dancer is the first single out.
Long Dancer are the first act we really signed, and Davy. We were supposed to have signed Bruce Johnson. Whether that is on or off, and I can't really say at the moment because he's pulled out of 3 deals in a year. We still probably might have Bruce, I don't know. We've got 2 or 3 other acts that we might be interested in signing, people that you've probably heard of. Again, that's a very difficult thing because if you try and sign an act, it could be on and off, the situation can be on and off very easily. But we've had an amazing response. We put a full-page advertisement in one of the leading musical weeklies, and we had a good response from that. We've listened to every single thing that have come in, and we still get loads of tapes every day. And we found a couple of people from just people sending in tapes, which is very encouraging. I think the musical standards have gone up a little bit.
What about what's going to happen in terms of recording freedom? Because so many people say that they are inhibited by record labels and just the amount of time, for example, that one gets in.
No, well, that's the reason why we set it up. The whole reason for starting a record label was to get away from the, well, you must record an album in 15 hours type syndrome, and also we give most of our artists get at least 10% record royalties, which is very, very high. That's another one of the reasons. And like Davy Johnson, for example, has been making his album. Dave, if you're listening, hurry up. Has been making his album since last June. I know he's been touring with me, but I mean, there's no real limit on to what people can do if we're behind them. For example, there's a young guy came in this week who's 18 years old. He plays the piano, and we listened to his songs and we thought, well, they're not very good. And then we sat down and said, well, was I writing very good songs when I was 18? And I said, well, I wasn't writing any songs when I was 18. And he hadn't ever listened to any records, so we gave him some records to listen to. And we said, listen, go away for 6 months. We'll give you wages every week for 6 months and come back and see us in 6 months. That's what we're looking for, Because I know how hard it was when I tried to get a publishing. It's such a hard thing. And, for example, Long Dancer, average age are about 19 or 20. And they've written, their first album is going to be good. It's not going to be great. But then my first album, nobody's first album is usually great unless they're a genius. And that's not the point in signing people that are sort of, you've got to have potential, and the point of starting the record company was to encourage people who've got that spark of potential, to sort of encourage them onwards, because I needed that when I started off, and I really didn't get it half of the time.
Time is always on Whistle Test these days. It's very short now. You're starting your tour on Saturday. It's just the last question. No. It's a big one too.
Well, it's the most extensive tour of Britain that I've done. It starts at the Boston Glidodrome, which I've always wanted to play since I was a rhythm and blues backup player, folks. And yeah, it's 3 or 4 weeks long, which is quite long for me.
Are you looking forward to it? Yeah,
I think so, because with having a successful record out, it always helps. And I think now the band is playing at its peak. I hope so, anyway. I'm not saying anything. It could be a disaster. But I think it'll be a good one, yeah.
Elton, thank you very much.